Good evening, everyone. Now, I'd like to start my speech slightly differently. I'd like to start with a short activity for everyone. So if I could have everyone in the audience put their hands out in front of them. Yep, everyone. Now I want you all to look at your hands. See if your hands are shaking. For most of you, your hands probably aren't shaking, and you're kind of confused, but bear with me, I do have a point here. And for some of you, your hands might be shaking because you're nervous or drank too much coffee this morning. But if you're not nervous and your hands are shaking, then you might be like me. You might just have shaky hands. You can all put your hands down now. Thank you. I have incredibly shaky hands, and they've been like that my whole life. Just an unlucky genetic draw. My dad, grandfather, great-grandfather, as far back as we can remember, it's all been the same. We all have shaky hands. Now, usually my shaky hands don't bother me. I mean, they are the reason I failed art a couple times and have practically illegible handwriting. But what does bother me is the fact that they make me seem nervous, more nervous than I usually am. And the reason I came to realize that this bothers me so much is because confidence is such an important and vital trait in today's society that we don't want to seem less confident than we actually are. So I'm going to start by talking about the importance of confidence. Now, usually, we view confidence as a strength rather than a weakness. I mean, if you're in a job interview and they ask you for your weaknesses, you're probably not going to say, oh, I'm confident. And it's likely that if I asked everyone in this room, we would all agree that confidence is indeed important. We tend to equate confidence with success, high self-esteem. Therefore, we believe our confidence is important for health, happiness, and future endeavors. And as unfortunate as it might be, when we view people who are less confident, we tend to correlate this to lower self-esteem and even less success, maybe. Now, even most psychological studies agree that confidence does indeed correlate to success. One study, done by Zachary Stiles and Sidney Felker, showed that people who are more confident were more likely to be successful when doing a set of simple tests and activities, showing this clear correlation between confidence and success. We also tend to believe confidence is a characteristic in many leadership positions, whether it's from politics to business. I mean, CEOs and politicians are quite confident people. In fact, even CEOs of major companies, such as Shireen Azim, the CEO for the Center of Executive Excellence, agrees that confidence is vital in being an effective CEO. But now, let's take it down to a smaller scale. Confidence is important in our day-to-day lives, whether we're meeting new friends or giving a presentation in front of a group of people or giving a TED Talk. Confidence is important to be successful in any of these activities. So we know that confidence is such an important trait. But according to a recent poll, only 60% of people actually feel as if they're adequately confident. And I know that number may seem large, but if 40% of people do not believe they're adequately confident, then obviously there's a gap we need to bridge. And perhaps I have a solution, but it won't be the solution everyone's looking for. Now, I know you've all seen the articles, from the Cosmopolitan to the New York Times, 5 easy ways to be more confident, or 6 steps to become a more confident person. But I promise that's not what I'm here to reiterate. I'm going to start with a personal story. We're going to go back in time to 2012, when I first moved to Beijing, China. I was in a new place, a new city, a new house, a new country, and I didn't even speak the language. But on top of all of that, what was most nerve-wracking of all for me was my first day of middle school. As a short, shy kid, I was absolutely terrified. I mean, my hands were shaking more than they normally are. I was so scared. But what I will never forget about that day is what my homeroom teacher said to me. He said, "Fake confidence and real confidence are the same thing." And I have to admit, as a young kid, I kind of brushed this aside as the obnoxious ramblings of my older teacher. But that saying has stuck with me to this day. It's essentially a rendition of the old saying, fake it till you make it. The idea that fake confidence and real confidence are the same thing may seem trivial to begin with, but the more we think about it, the more they are indeed the same thing. I mean, confidence is essentially a state of mind, the behavioral equivalent of the emperor's new clothes. If you walk the walk everyone will hear you talking the talk. If you act like you belong, everyone thinks you do. In the same way that when you smile, you feel your mood lift and project happiness. According to what we call status enhancement theory, people gain influence by acting dominant, confident, and competent. One study put participants into groups of 4 and asked them to solve a set of mathematical reasoning problems. I know, pretty boring. But the essential finding of that study was that people who were perceived to be more confident and dominant were also perceived to be more competent, regardless if their mathematical abilities were really up to par and if they could actually solve those mathematical reasoning problems. So essentially, people can't tell the difference between your perceived confidence, your actual confidence, and your fake confidence. Now, but we have to think about how exactly can we act confident? How do we fake our confidence? So let's think about how we perceive confident people, what characteristics they have. We usually perceive them physically as standing up straight, their shoulders back, their chin up, being charismatic, friendly, loud, proud, being well-kept, and even well-dressed. So in order to become confident, we can emulate the characteristics that we observe in these confident people, thereby faking our confidence. And luckily for us, there's nothing stopping us. We can walk into a room with our head held high, with our shoulders back. We can stand tall. We can speak loudly, clearly. We can articulate. We can smile at the people we meet. We can make new friends. We can dress for the job we want, not the job we have, so to speak. And if we work at these characteristics, if we emulate these characteristics, imitate these characteristics that we observe, we can become more confident. And if you don't want to take my word for it, Aristotle once said, "Men acquire a quality by constantly acting a certain way." And Aristotle's a pretty reliable guy. But there's no doubt this is going to be difficult, as unfortunately I can't show you all some 5 magic power poses we can do every morning and we'll all become super confident, as that would be too easy, and that's not how it works. Confidence is a skill, not a skill you're born with, a skill you have to work towards. And I believe that confidence is an important skill, and one skill that we all should, and we all can, work towards improving or achieving. In conclusion, we can fake it till we make it. Thank you.